What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the pod. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Wednesday, May 7th. We'll kick things off with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league. Starting it off with the bad news, as always, as third baseman Noelvi Marte was placed on the 10-day IL with a grade 2 oblique strain. That really sucks. He's going to be out for at least a month, and I think it's probably going to push 2 months. Oblique strains are really terrible. They take a long time to recover from, and a grade 2 variety suggests that it is moderate. So Marte out at least 4 to 6 weeks, I would suggest. Outfielder Rhys Hines was recalled from the minors in a corresponding move. Remember last year when he got promoted and he was incredible in his first week, and I spent $100+ in fab, and then he got sent down right away because I remember that. But Rhys Hines is likely to be on the short side of a platoon in the corner outfield for the Reds moving forward. But at third base, filling in for Noelvi Marte, who's out with an oblique strain, will be Santiago Espinal. He'll see more time at the hot corner. Our other injury involves outfielder Andrew Benintendi, who was placed on the 10-day IL with a calf strain. Unfortunate. I wouldn't expect Benintendi to be out for long. He narrowly avoided an IL stint, so I'd expect him back in probably 10 to 15 days. Nick Maton was selected from the minors in a corresponding move, but it'll be Brooks Baldwin who fills in for Benintendi in left field for the White Sox. In terms of transactions, former White Sox starting pitcher Michael Soroka was activated from the 15-day IL. He has been out since basically opening day for the Nationals with a bicep strain, and he was activated to make his second start of the season yesterday versus the Guardians. Soroka tossed 5 innings, allowing 5 hits and 4 earned runs. He walked 2, but he struck out 8, which is interesting for a guy who's not much of a strikeout pitcher nowadays. 10 whiffs, 38% CSW on 78 pitches for Soroka, as he filled up the zone with 44% sliders for 50% CSW. Pretty impressive, but with the Braves next in Atlanta, I'm not going to go out and pick up Soroka, but it is an interesting development nonetheless, and I'm excited to see if he can parlay that into even more strikeout success next time. And now we'll wrap up this section with some news. As second baseman Jake Cronenworth is expected to be activated from the 10-day IL on Friday for the Padres. He'll reclaim the everyday second base role in San Diego once activated. Now we'll take a look at the notable performances from Wednesday, a day in which we had a full slate of 15 games. We'll start it off with our hitters, leading off with third baseman Ryan McMahon, who did all he could, but the Rockies lost to the Tigers. I saw Ryan McMahon's line, and I was like, I bet the Rockies lost this one, and they did. But McMahon did all he could, like I said, went 4 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 doubles, a home run, 2 RBIs, and a walk for good measure. Really just did it all. He's up to 4 homers on the year now, and this one was a bomb, traveling 436 feet at 111 miles per hour. And we talked or at least I talked the other day about Brian Reynolds being one of the most consistent players in baseball, and Ryan McMahon is like the discount version of that. Discounting his 2020 season, McMahon has hit at least 20 homers and batted between 240 and 254 for 5 straight seasons, but he's gotten off to a slow start this year, batting just 193 with a 665 OPS, and the underlying metrics don't bring much hope for McMahon. He's all out of whack. He's got a career high 32% strikeout rate, a career high fly ball rate, a career high pull rate, and he's somehow slashed his contact rate, his contact rate on pitches outside of the zone, in half. He's making contact on pitches out of the zone around 24% of the time, which is absolutely awful. McMahon's got to be injured or something. I think I'd be cutting bait at this point in the majority of leagues. Obviously not like NL only leagues, but I think in 15 teamers, I'd be cutting bait and only streaming McMahon when he's playing at home in Coors. Next, we'll talk about outfielder TJ Friedl, who helped the Reds to a win in Atlanta, going 2 for 3 with 2 runs, a pair of homers, 2 RBIs, and a walk. He's up to 3 homers on the year now. First one traveled 399 feet at 100 miles per hour, and the second one traveled 407 feet at 102 miles per hour. And after a breakout in 2023 for Friedl, his follow-up campaign was destroyed by injuries. He played in just over 80 games. Now that Friedl's fully healthy, he's leading off every day for the Reds, and he's doing pretty well, batting 273 with a 730 OPS, but that's after today's big power output after hitting just 1 home run in his in the first month plus of the season. He tripled that total on Wednesday. Power's been very difficult to come by for Friedl. And you may say, yeah, look at Friedel's barrel rate. It is 0 point whatever percent. And in the past, he's been a guy who has like a 3% barrel rate. But TJ Friedel's like Isaac Paredes in that he doesn't brandish otherworldly power. And instead, he finds his homers by pulling all of his fly balls. Friedel's done a good job of pulling the ball this year, but he struggled to lift it. Hopefully this game with a pair of homers is a sign that Friedl has got his launch angle figured out, because everything else is working for him right now, and we're looking at a repeat of 2023. Lastly, we'll talk about first baseman Rowdy Tellez, who helped the Mariners to win in Sacramento, going 1-for-4 with a home run, and 3 runs batted in. He's up to 5 homers on the year now, and this one traveled 399 feet at 105 miles per hour. And teams just keep giving Rowdy Tellez chances. I don't really understand why. He's not great defensively, and offensively, he's only had a couple seasons where his WRC plus was above league average. So it's not like he's a guy who's going to come in and out hit his defensive liabilities, but nonetheless, he still keeps getting opportunities here at the age of 30. He's on the strong side of a first base platoon in Seattle this year, and he's being extra aggressive at the plate, which has led to the highest strikeout rate of Tellez's career since 2019, which was his sophomore campaign. But on the flip side of that coin, Tellez is sporting a career high 15% barrel rate, but I wouldn't be too excited. I'm not expecting like a late career resurgence from Rowdy Tellez, especially because he's calling T-Mobile Park his home. I think he's a fine play for power in AL only leagues because he's got playing time and he's sporting a good barrel rate. But outside of that, I don't think he's worth the playing time. But if you'd like more information on Wednesday's hitters, check out the Daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the mound and check out some notable starting pitching performances, opening with Ben Brown, who did all he could, but the Cubs lost to the Giants. He tossed 5 innings, allowing 6 hits and 3 earned runs while walking 2 and striking out 9. He induced 12 whiffs with 23% CSW across 103 pitches. And I actually suggested streaming Giants hitters against Brown. It didn't really work out. He struck out a lot of batters, but there's nothing different here from Brown. It was fastball, curveball all day with just 3 changeups mixed in. The heater went for 8 whiffs and 26% CSW, while the curve induced 4 whiffs and 20% CSW. Both returned more than 60% strikes. And honestly, that's all Brown really needs to succeed against a beatable lineup like the Giants. But all those strikeouts forced the poor ratios we see in this one, but returned 9 punch outs. So when you have a guy like this that is a 2-pitch pitcher and he's throwing them for strikes and both pitches can induce whiffs, you've got a guy who can induce strikeouts, but because he's living in the zone so much, he's going to rely on some contact, which leads to what we see: 3 earned runs in 5 innings. That's a 4.50 whip or ERA. That's not great. And he allowed 8 base runners in 5 innings. That's not great either. So not good ratios, but 9 punch outs, we'll take that. However, moving forward, when batters do punish those pitches in the zone that Brown throws, or he can't even find the zone, that's when he really gets crushed. So this is why we are not running after Brown when he has these incredible strikeout outings. But he does get the Marlins in Chicago next. I think that's a fine stream of Ben Brown. Next, we'll discuss Gunnar Hoglund, who did all he could, but the A's lost to the Mariners. He tossed 5 1/3 innings, allowing 5 hits and 2 earned runs while walking 1 and striking out 3. He induced 13 whiffs with 28% CSW across 99 pitches. And after going fastball heavy in his first start, a lot of 4-seamers and sinkers, Hoglund faced more lefties in this one, and he's a righty. And somehow he threw more sweepers. It had a much bigger role here, going from his least used pitch in his debut to his second most thrown offering on Wednesday. Hoglund threw the sweeper for 6 whiffs and 41% CSW, while his heater filled up the zone for 67% strikes and 8 called strikes. And on top of that, his velocity was up 0.5 mile per hour, even without the debuted adrenaline. So that's pretty interesting as well. However, his changeup was unwieldy. His slider was poorly spotted to lefties, and the locations on his heaters could definitely be improved. He definitely threw a lot of them right down the middle. All that being said, I can't endorse starting Hoglund in LA against the Dodgers next if the A's don't skip him. They get 2 off days in their next 5 days. So the A's might turn to somebody else or just skip Hoglund altogether to give him some more rest. And lastly, we'll discuss Valente Beloso, who did all he could, but the Marlins lost to the Dodgers. Rarely do we have three notable starting pitching performances where all of them lost, but that's the case on Wednesday. Beloso tossed 5 1/3 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and 2 walks while striking out 7. He induced 10 whiffs with 39% CSW across 76 pitches, and this is very impressive from Beloso against the Dodgers. He pulled off the cannibal McSanchez, as Nick likes to call it, pumping cutters in the zone for 10 called strikes and 46% CSW, while his four-seamer caught hitters off guard for 8 called strikes and 45% CSW. And then he played off those two pitches really well by slinging sweepers to righties for 5 whiffs and 40% CSW, while he flung changeups out of the zone to lefties for just 18% strikes, but he did get a pair of whiffs. However, most interestingly for Beloso, despite all of this success, after already being up 1 mile per hour this year across the board compared to last year, he was up 2 more mile per hour yesterday, sitting 85 with his cutter and 92 with his heater. The heater also displayed plus 2 inches of IVB to settle in at 18.5 inches. And I think if this sticks, Beloso may be able to avoid loud contact when he's forced to live in the zone, like he does here, and it will allow him to earn more whiffs moving forward. And for a pitcher that currently flaunts a career 14% strikeout rate, an increase in whiffs is exactly what we're looking for somebody like Beloso. He gets the Cubs in Chicago next. I'm not going to run out and go start him there, but if he displays that increased velocity again and it returns success like he did against the Dodgers on Wednesday, then I'm definitely going to be interested in Valente Beloso. But if you'd like a breakdown of every single start from Wednesday, give the Plus Pitch podcast a listen and check out Nick's daily SP roundup over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Ryan Walker recorded his 7th save with a scoreless 9th. Andres Munoz recorded his American League leading 13th save with a scoreless 9th. Emmanuel Clase recorded his 8th save with a perfect 9th. Matt Sauer recorded the first save of his career and his first of the season, obviously, tossing 4 scoreless innings, allowing just 1 hit and 1 walk while striking out 4. So Matt Sauer, first career save of the 4-inning variety. Aroldis Chapman survived a solo shot to record his 5th save. Emilio Pagan pitched a scoreless 9th for his 9th save. Yohan Duran struck out the side in order to record his 5th save, and Carlos Estevez worked around a run to record his 11th save. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Luke Weaver recorded 5 outs across the 8th and 9th in a tie game. Devin Williams pitched the 10th, and the Yankees won that one. Robert Suarez pitched a scoreless 9th in that one as well. Josh Hader pitched a scoreless 9th with an 8-run lead. He hadn't pitched since last Tuesday, so he definitely needed some maintenance here. Pete Fairbanks pitched a perfect 9th down by 7, which was really confusing because he just pitched a couple days ago. But I noticed that the Rays bullpen is super short right now with a ton of injuries, and they've been very overworked recently. And basically all of the relievers pitched on Wednesday, so it was just all hands on deck for the Rays, and that's why Fairbanks pitched down by 7. Will Vest pitched a scoreless 9th and 10th for the Tigers to earn his 2nd win. And lastly, Jeff Hoffman surrendered 3 runs in the 9th to blow his first save and take his first loss of the season. But if you'd like more information on relievers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com and tune in to the In the Pen podcast on Thursday night live on YouTube. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Thursday, May 8th, my brother's birthday. Happy birthday, Luke. We've got 9 games on the slate as the Tigers and Rockies have a doubleheader in Coors. That'll be exciting. My matchup of the day, though, is Jesus Luzardo versus Ryan Pepio. Luzardo is always fun to watch. He's been really great this season with that new sweeper. I'm excited to see him continue that against the Rays, while I'm waiting for Ryan Pepio to have his own breakout. I've been waiting for that for a couple years now. Hopefully this start against the Phillies is just the beginning. In terms of probable starters, we've got 4 guys in our auto starts tier, including Luzardo. God, I messed it up twice. We've also got Joe Ryan versus the Orioles, Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Arizona, and Spencer Schwellenbach versus the Reds. Our probably starts tier has 5 guys, and our questionable starts tier has 3 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Jose Soriano versus the Blue Jays. He has not had his slider this year, so it's somewhat of a risky start. That's why you see him in the questionable starts tier, but maybe you can find some success here against a below average lineup like the Blue Jays. I guess I'd also keep an eye out for Dean Kramer in Minnesota, though I would say probably don't stream on Thursday. Very thin options if you're in deeper leagues. In terms of hitter suggestions, you got to go for the obvious. Tigers and Rockies hitters in their doubleheader in Coors. We'll see Casey Mize square off against Kyle Freeland in game 1. And in game 2, the Tigers pitcher is to be determined, but the Rockies starter will be Tanner Gordon. Now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Jeff Hoffman has pitched on back-to-back days, and so has Yimi Garcia. So maybe we see Brendan Little get a save, but it'll probably be Chad Green getting an opportunity in the 9th for the Blue Jays. And lastly, Emilio Pagan has pitched on back-to-back days, but so has Tony Santillan. So maybe Graham Ashcraft or Taylor Rogers gets a shot at a save for the Reds on Thursday. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. Trevor Hooth will be with you tomorrow and throughout the weekend. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.